presentation will include our journey, how we got there and what we did, who are EWB, what Mexico City's problem is regarding to water and where we can help as engineers, some of the solutions that they came with, solar power, and opportunities for you guys to get involved. So, first of all, how we began, last year summer we wanted to use our engineering knowledge in the developing world. We found a course Engineers Without Borders were running, and that course cost about $2,000. And as students, as you know, we might not afford everything to, like, for example, flights, food, and actually paying for the course. So we requested grants from the university. There's a grant called Edward Russell Travel Bursary that pays for any Year 2 students that like to go and do these courses where you develop your engineering knowledge in the developing world. I have to note that there's only one more £2,000 bursary left, so for any students that want to take part. But we as engineers are trying to encourage Edward Russell family to invest in us more so other years can also take part. And the trip was on the 8th to the 28th of July this year.
So essentially the course when we landed in Mexico was about 2 days of lectures about education. So this image you can see behind us actually was one of the images they used, which was quite impactful, I thought. If you look at the top line, that says that if we all lived like Australians, we would need 5.4 globes in order to live in that lifestyle. Here in the UK, we need nearly 3 globes in order to maintain the lifestyle that we live. Whereas if you look at India, we don't even need 1 globe if we live like Indians live. So essentially, EWB's main focus now is to promote educational purposes, so that how, as engineers within our field, what we can do in order to reduce how we consume, how we live, and design buildings more effectively, or structures of transport, so we're not living like Australians and taking up more than our fair share of the world that we live in. So you can see the pictures behind me. We went and visited Mexico City, which is in dire straits in terms of a water crisis. So there's over 21 million inhabitants in Mexico City alone, but over 800,000 of them don't have readily access available to water. So what you see in the bottom picture is a tanker. Now lots of people get their water via tank trucks that are delivered to those blue containers, and then they come down from their homes and they get the water and take it back to their homes. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't live in areas where they can get even to the water tanks, which are in the blue containers. They use donkeys and carry it up to wherever they may live in certain regions. The donkeys were severely malnourished. It was not a nice thing to see. And most people, when they turn on the tap, literally water doesn't come out. When they shower, it doesn't come out. This is more than twice, 2-3 times a week. Most people don't have access literally every day to water. They're not even on the grid. So if they are on the grid and they turn the tap on, it's not always going to come out.
So this is the geology part of what we investigated. As you can see, Mexico sits on it's like a bowl-type structure where the basin of the bowl is an aquifer where all the water is stored from the rain or, going through the ground. And then on top of it, you have your clay deposit, where Mexico sits on. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, the population has increased and the demand for water in the city has also increased. And 70% of Mexico's water comes from underground, which is where the tap is, where it says 70%. And then the 30% comes from outside of Mexico City, which we'll talk about later. But what you should note that whilst the water is being depleted, no one has a true value of how much water is left. And also, due to this depletion, the structure of the ground has decreased. So, from the last 100 years, it's gone down 10 meters. And that's caused a lot of instability and, structural damage. And all of this causes leaks. And about more than 800,000 people are without regular water due to this issue. Now, they know that this is a problem that needs to be solved, but what solution can we come up with?
So Mexico's solution essentially is the picture on the left. That is a picture of their actual piping system. They pump in water from over 100 kilometers away to keep the city with water. They don't actually know how much water is left in the aquifer. Even scientists can't accurately predict how much is in there. So their ingenious solution is to pump it from over 100 kilometers away and take it from another city. One of their smaller projects, which you can see on the right, is on the left, is the rainwater harvesting systems. This is just a schematic of what they do. So smaller charities obviously see that this is a big issue and they're going out and putting in rainwater harvesting systems. This is costing hundreds of millions of dollars pumping this water in, but Mexico, as many of you may know, is quite corrupt. So essentially, they can't figure out a better solution at the minute than pumping it in and pumping it out.
So one of the systems that she just talked about was the rainwater harvesting system. Now, what this means is to essentially make every house independent from the grid and have their own source of water. You know, if you think London's got it bad, Mexico rains quite a lot, and when it does rain, it rains pretty bad. And this is an advantage for us because we can collect a lot of water in a short amount of time. And what you can do is, so what this diagram shows is that on the roof, when the rain comes down, it collects on the roof and then it's transported to a little container called a flush system. Now, what the flush system does is it collects the first 5 or 10 liters worth of water and stores it away because this water is quite contaminated due to the atmosphere having chemicals and debris on the roof probably. But the next thousands of liters that come off after that, those 10 liters, is quite clean and used as grey water. Grey water is basically stuff that are not used for drinking, such as washing your clothes, washing your dishes, and other things at home. So if I show you what the flush system is like, it's like this. So first the rain comes from the downpipe of the house, as you can see on the top right. Then it goes into this first flush reservoir, collects about 5 or 10 liters, and inside there's a ball that floats to the top, and then once it gets to the top, it stops the water from going in, and then goes directly into the water tank, which is at the basement of the house. Now, as engineers, you can see this design is not that complex, and it's saving a lot of lives, and I'm sure any one of us who had a look at this system would say to yourself, this is quite simple and easy for us to design. Maybe we could design something like this in another country that may need help and save a lot of lives doing so. Bear in mind, this system can cater for the house for about 6 to 8 months worth of water. So the next 4 months left or 6 months left that they don't have water, they would have to do what they usually do, which is get a goat and collect my water for me, which is quite difficult and quite hard to see. So when we went there, UCL actually already have a project on the ground. They've got funding for water tanks to be established in people's homes. What I was doing there was just taking part with the locals, making formwork of a concrete water tank that's set up outside someone's house. And it's important to note that the money that UCL raised to do these projects, they designed these water tanks and the systems that were in place, which then they went out into Mexico to make sure it took place and everything worked out, which is not impossible and something for us to kind of take note because we can also get involved. This is me. I actually got to visit some of the water tanks in action, the rainwater harvesting systems. The one on the little blue box on the right is the first flush system that takes away some of the water, and the filters that I'm pointing out on the left is a special type of filter that can turn the water into drinking water. So even though it's not that expensive, and to maintain that kind of system doesn't cost a lot either. So it's really efficient, and it's the knowledge that got them to this stage that they are at now.
So this is probably interesting more to the electrical engineers, but we went to a solar house essentially. That gentleman there is an American who moved to Mexico in the 70s and started a solar business. So we're standing on the roof of a house that was entirely off-grid. Those solar panels provided all the power that house required. This system that you can see on the screen is the converter that they use to store the power in 12 golf cart batteries. So that's all they need to keep their energy going. And everything. They had all the modern appliances that you can imagine in their homes, laptops, TVs, everything you could need. But they were using their energy sustainably. Also, another house that we went to visit, which I don't have a picture of unfortunately, was they were feeding their solar power into the grid and then they were drawing it back at night. Because obviously batteries are expensive, not only to use, to maintain, but they don't also last forever. This was just an interesting picture of that gentleman's home. So these are the batteries from the 70s that he got from an old telecoms tower that are still functional, still in use. He lives entirely off-grid. He has solar panels dedicated just for his fridge, which he built specifically for that use to keep it low energy, and his freezer. So it's possible to live off-grid and sustainably without using fossil fuels and different resources that we're using here in the West. This is a picture of Yaman quite literally mixing manure. This, what you can see behind them, is a biodigester. This was another farm, again, entirely off-grid. But the biodigester was, they had 2 cows, which from the manure they put into the biodigester, which produced methane, which then in turn produced gas and electricity for that house. So this farm not only produced its own food, its own power, it had solar, it had wind, they had all the mod cons, but also they were living entirely sustainable lifestyle. We visited so much when we were on this trip, we literally couldn't get all of it out in the 15 minutes that we've been allowed. We've seen composting toilets, organic farming, reusing old land, reclaiming land using technologies to get rid of the chemicals. We went to an algae farm, a specialist filtration water centre, which they were cleaning water within Mexico City to make it redrinkable, an eco house that was built out of eco bricks. There was just, it's too much. But if you want any further information on what we actually did on the ground, you can come and ask us. But there's opportunities for you. Everyone in this room is studying some form of engineering. So EWB do professional placement courses like the one we did in Mexico, but also in India. They do worldwide fellowships that you can do when you can graduate, which take a year long. We met a gentleman who was doing that in Mexico City for Mechanical, who's building specialist filtration systems. They also do placements which open in 2 days' time on the 16th. You can do 3-month, 6-month or 12-month international placements. Obviously also the ICE do lectures on sustainability. And the EWB Society here at City, I think if we all got involved, we could really make a difference here.
So, I mean, what we're just trying to say, I guess, is that as engineers, there's individuals here who are, capable of implementing systems like this. You never know, someone amongst us might be a hero for humanity, a hero for mankind, and actually implement things in the developing world that can save a lot of lives. So we just try to we hope to inspire change and encourage you guys to take advantage of the facilities that you have here and the education that you have here to not only build your own career in engineering, but to have a look at the developing world and find out exactly how you can improve their world like our world was improved and appreciated whilst we were here. Like, we've got our own water systems, our travel systems, all made by engineers. But in the developing world, there isn't engineers to do these kind of work. So I don't see why not. We all can get up and do these kind of things. Hopefully this summer we can take part in another trip to India with EWB, and we would like as many engineers from City University to get involved. So thank you for listening to our presentation.
And thank you to the Edward Russell family, who obviously provided the bursary to make this trip possible, and City for implementing the bursary scheme and obviously supporting the series students.
Hey!